Tonight, Joe Biden's risky play to stay on the presidential ballot.
I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
In public, unscripted, under pressure. But many are already thinking ahead.
Let's say Joe Biden withdraws.
Well, what about that? We've got it covered. Security and economic interests collide in a Canadian deal to build icebreakers. Online influencers spread bad takes on sunscreen.
Sunscreen is a scam, and here's why.
I never wore sunscreen.
How those armed with the facts are fighting back.
From CBC News, this is The National with Juanita Taylor.
Thank you for joining us. Adrienne is away. With his every move being weighed and measured, tonight Joe Biden faced down his doubters and a room full of journalists. Many call it a make-or-break moment for his presidential campaign.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president.
After prepared remarks, he took questions for 50 minutes, a live and unscripted test in front of a global audience. What he said, perhaps less important than how he said it after his disastrous performance 2 weeks ago on the debate stage. Since then, a rolling tide of Democrats has called for him to drop out of the race. Katie Simpson is in Washington tonight. Katie, a critical moment for Joe Biden.
Yes, and nearly every single question was related to Joe Biden's health and his decision to remain the Democratic nominee. And while he did not have the same kind of troubles he experienced in the debate, it was not a problem-free performance. A country waiting on pins and needles. U.S. President Joe Biden finally emerged for one of the greatest tests of his political life.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
He defended his decision to stay in the presidential race, denying he's limited by his age or health.
So if I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None.
Biden described his debate performance, where he looked confused and lost his train of thought, as being a stupid mistake, blaming exhaustion. There were signs of trouble at this appearance, though, calling his vice president, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Biden had a similar flub earlier in the day while introducing Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
The moment catching world leaders off guard who appeared shocked. Calls for Biden to pass the torch have intensified as he's failed to convince some Democrats he's capable of both beating Donald Trump and serving a second term.
Because you can't undo the debate, and you can't undo the response that came after the debate.
Biden's campaign team is being accused of hiding his decline, an allegation that was reportedly made during a tense meeting with Democratic senators. Biden's team has now reportedly ordered polls to see whether Vice President Kamala Harris has a better shot at beating Trump. For now, she remains publicly supportive of her boss.
And the past few days have been a reminder that running for president of the United States is never easy, nor should it be. But one thing we know about our president, Joe Biden, is that he is a fighter.
Biden is determined to fight, saying there's only one scenario where he'd reconsider.
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
And Katie, what early reaction are we hearing to that?
Well, some analysts are praising the substance of Biden's answers. There was some nuance with China and on the Middle East. But just minutes after the news conference ended, yet another Democratic lawmaker came forward to call on Biden to step aside.
All right, thank you so much, Katie. Well, coming up, we'll have more on Biden's appearance tonight with veteran media journalist Brian Stelter. Plus,
we haven't seen this happen in the United States in 70 years.
A rising number of Democrats are talking about replacing Biden at the top of the presidential ticket, but how? That's coming up in the breakdown. A small measure of comfort tonight for the families and friends of 4 Indigenous women killed by Jeremy Skibicki. A Manitoba judge found him guilty of first-degree murder. They gathered outside the courthouse and embraced after the decision, which came more than 2 years after the investigation started. The judge shared some gruesome details and a warning. We're about to share some with you. Here's Cameron McIntosh.
The decision they all wanted.
Put him away now.
Jeremy Skibicki, convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder for killing Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, Rebecca Contois, and a 4th woman known as Buffalo Woman, identified by a jacket. Victims' families and supporters relieved.
I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Justice was served today.
Skibicki confessed to police 2 years ago.
I killed 4 people.
But pleaded not criminally responsible due to a mental disorder. Manitoba's Chief Justice rejected that, saying evidence Skibicki visited shelters to target Indigenous women, planned the murders, had sex with corpses, dismembered the bodies, and left remains to be picked up in the garbage, demonstrated crimes driven by fetish and hate, with little evidence of a mental disorder.
We're pleased that he came to the conclusions he came to on that issue, and that he reviewed the evidence as thoroughly as he did.
That evidence was extremely graphic. Families often wept in court. Jeremy Contois is Rebecca Contois' brother.
She could kind of sort of be at peace, but at the same time, it won't bring her back.
Remains of Myron and Harris are believed to be buried in this landfill. Work to search is underway. After police who had enough DNA for charges said a search was infeasible, setting off a political firestorm, outraging Indigenous leaders, driving grieving families into activism. At the Assembly of First Nations meeting in Montreal, the Harris family called for an inquiry while calling this a victory.
That monster will never step foot out of a prison again. And I hope that when he does leave, he's going out in a body bag.
First-degree murder carries a life sentence. Skibicki will serve 4 concurrently, an admitted and now convicted serial killer. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
If you need help, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Crisis Line is available 24 hours a day. Call 1-844-413-6649. Pierre Poilievre made his pitch to the Assembly of First Nations today, telling them his plan if he becomes the next Prime Minister. Olivia Stevanovich now with how he was received and how Canada's other main federal parties tried to take away the spotlight.
An attempt to reset a rocky relationship.
We won't agree on 100% of issues, but we will work together in a respectful way.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre pitching a plan to wealth in his first in-person appearance at the Assembly of First Nations.
The reality is, we don't have billions. We have trillions of dollars of resource wealth right beneath our feet. That wealth belongs in many cases to you and your communities. Your children can be the richest in the world.
The message Poilievre came to deliver, one focused on resource and economic development, welcomed by some.
I'm pretty certain he will form government according to the polls. And we wish him well, and we want to work with him and start building those relationships now to make sure that we get some good things going for First Nations people in this country.
But his presence also triggered a silent protest.
We're going to go back into the valley of darkness with his policies.
Some delegates fear Poilievre will bring a return of the conflicts seen during the last Conservative government.
It's going to be a long battle, but we survived Harper, and so we can survive anything.
In your speech, you did not acknowledge missing murdered women.
Poilievre was also called out for what he didn't say.
If you're working to be the next Prime Minister in Canada, it tells me you have a lot of education to do.
Poilievre, though, wasn't the only one vying for attention. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh tried to counter the Conservative message.
Economic reconciliation cannot happen unless it means respecting your rights to free, informed prior consent.
But it will take more than speeches and promises to earn votes.
Any government leader that can give you not only the what, but the how and the timeline in how to do that, that's the party that I would support.
And Olivia, the Liberals also look to make news during Poilievre's appearance today.
Well, Juanita, all week we've been told that the Indigenous Services Minister wouldn't be showing up here in Montreal for the Assembly. Then, hours after Poilievre's appearance, Patty Hajdu appeared with the Assembly of First Nations for a press conference, announcing $47.8 billion to reform the First Nations child welfare system. The Liberals also released a new video on social media attacking Poilievre for past statements he made about the residential school settlement agreement, saying First Nations need to learn the values of hard work, comments for which he later apologized for when he made them 16 years ago.
Thank you, Olivia. That's Olivia Stefanovic in Montreal tonight. Canada chose the waning moments of the NATO summit to make big news. First, a multinational agreement to build much-needed icebreakers. Then, a commitment to finally bring Canada's defense spending in line. Evan Dyer is in Washington.
Today in Washington, a three-way deal between the U.S., Canada, and Finland to build icebreakers. The deal is built around Quebec's Davie shipbuilding, which owns both the Canadian and Finnish shipyards. The U.S. wants to draw on their expertise to revitalize its own shipbuilding industry at the Bollinger shipyard in Louisiana. The U.S. has only 2 aging polar icebreakers. Russia has 40, including 5 nuclear-powered ships, and China is building icebreakers too. The so-called Ice Pact could generate a lot of economic activity. The 3 partners hope to build about 80 ships and sell them to NATO and other allies. But Canada has committed to make the ships, not to buy them. So it's not clear it will help Canada to meet the NATO defense spending threshold of 2% of GDP. Today, Prime Minister Trudeau denied that Canada is feeling heat over the failure to meet that 2%.
It actually hasn't been a political problem this year and this week. It has been a conversation that allies have been pleased to hear that we have a plan and a timeline to get to the 2%.
Indeed, U.S. Ambassador David Cohen said the U.S. was pleased and encouraged by Canada's announcements. But powerful Republicans in Washington, who may soon return to power, have been harsher.
It's shocking and unacceptable that some allies, especially some capable ones, have yet to reach the 2% requirement that they agreed to. Canada is among this group.
Meanwhile, other NATO members are calling for the threshold to move higher.
So 2% is certainly a floor, but it's not the ceiling, and we are going to be investing heavily also. We have a trajectory up to 2.6 by 2028.
2% is not going to be enough.
Trudeau says he's always questioned the value of the 2% threshold as a measure of a country's contributions. But Canada did agree to that goal 10 years ago. Today, Trudeau said Canada will get there 8 years from now. But there's not a lot of details on exactly how that will happen, and it looks increasingly likely the goalposts will move before Canada reaches them. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Washington.
Police in British Columbia are pleading with drivers to slow down and stay alert after another deadly highway car crash. 4 family members were killed in the incident involving 2 cars and a tractor-trailer. It happened around 11:30 Wednesday morning near Karamias in the province's southern interior, about 350 kilometers east of Vancouver. Since last Friday, at least 5 crashes in BC have killed 15 people, including earlier this week, a family of 3 with an infant. Canada's healthcare crisis has a town in Alberta taking drastic measures. It's decided to use municipal cash to keep its only clinic from shutting down. Julia Wong now with how we got here and why this tactic may not be sustainable.
Get in! Coming off a shoulder surgery, Sheldon Bielopatowski needed medication. But without a family doctor, he's forced to rely on a walk-in clinic.
I had to go back to the doctor to get more my prescription or whatever, but I can't get in for another 3 weeks. So I was like, well, what the heck am I going to do?
He's not alone. Right now, about half of the town of Hinton does not have a family doctor. going from the equivalent of 15 full-time family physicians in 2020 to just 6. The remaining doctors could not keep up with expenses, and the only local clinic was at risk of shutting down.
This is a big, intractable problem.
So the town decided it had to act, pulling $1 million from its budget to keep the clinic going for the next 2 years.
We are the government of proximity. Sometimes we have to step up and do things that aren't always in our wheelhouse.
That's our procedure room.
But healthcare is a provincial responsibility, and this doctor says this is not a viable solution.
I would love to see a longer-term commitment from the province, who is in charge of providing healthcare services to Albertans.
Communities across Canada are grappling with family doctor shortages, but there's no consensus on whether municipalities should get involved.
They're not equipped to do it financially, and nor are they equipped to really evaluate, is this actually the best way to ensure the people of Hinton have access to primary care?
I think it's really important to know that all levels of government contribute to healthcare in a variety of different ways. So the municipal governments have a role to play.
In a statement, Alberta's health minister says she appreciates the mayor's solution-focused approach, adding the province is working to address issues facing rural healthcare. The mayor admits the temporary funding is not a long-term solution, but he hopes the crisis here is one all levels of government pay attention to. Julia Wong, CBC News, Hinton, Alberta.
After months of lavish parties, the son of India's richest man is set to wed this weekend. How the extravagant festivities are going over in a country of deep inequality. Plus, remembering actor Shelley Duvall.
Here's Johnny.
After her death at age 75, we look back at the roles that defined her career. And a moment to remember for a Spice Girls loving flight attendant. We're back in 2. Tomorrow, a months-long wedding celebration between 2 mega-wealthy families in India culminates in a luxury ceremony. But some say the extravagance is over the top. Eli Glasner takes us inside a wedding with a global audience.
It's a wedding so massive, so mega, even the warm-up events put the royals to shame.
How many of you believe in love?
The rarely seen Rihanna.
Thanks to the Ambani family, I am here tonight.
A Mediterranean cruise with the Backstreet Boys and Katy Perry. And last week, Justin Bieber flown to Mumbai to party with India's 1%. So who's bankrolling the wedding bedlam?
The best way to summarize them would be to say they're our equivalent of the Bezos and Gates families.
The groom is the son of Mukesh Ambani, the chairman of Reliance Industries, now considered the richest man in Asia. And he's spreading reportedly hundreds of millions around, taking over a city and airport for a 3-day extravaganza.
$7,000 for the invitation.
The lavishness cuts 2 ways. For some, instilling a sense of pride.
People were going crazy. And I think that's part of it, is the world is absorbing this culture that we've celebrated for so long. And now it's been seen as the best fashion moments.
But in a country with a chasm between the rich and poor, others are just turned off.
Yeah, we get it. You have it. That's it. Like, there's no need to show off that much.
A lot of people are feeling like this is just kind of a bit of a slap in the face and kind of out of touch.
But for many in India, weddings are everything.
An average Indian spends about 5 to 15, to some sources even say 20% of their lifetime earnings on weddings.
And so there is support on the street.
I think it's fabulous. It's helping the economy, it's helping everyone, and so I think if they have the money, they should spend it.
And they certainly will. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
American actor Shelley Duvall, co-star of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, has died. Her wide-eyed, winsome on-screen presence appeared in many defining films of the 1970s and beyond.
It's like a dime a dance, I'll take a chance, I will because he needs me.
Duvall starred in 7 films directed by Robert Altman, starting in her early 20s. Her roles included the comic strip character Olive Oil in a live-action adaptation of Popeye, opposite Robin Williams.
Here's Johnny!
But the fame came in The Shining. Duvall's screaming face, one of the film world's iconic images, she played opposite Jack Nicholson, whose character spirals into madness during a winter at an isolated hotel.
The only word for this is transplendent.
Duvall disappeared from Hollywood periodically, but surfaced to produce a series of kids' shows and returned to acting after 2 decades in 2022. She died Thursday at her Texas home after complications from diabetes. Duvall recently celebrated her 75th birthday. Medical experts are speaking out against influencers spreading false claims about sunscreen.
Sunscreen is a scam, and here's why.
I never wear sunscreen.
These are actually more dangerous than you burning.
What the science says, coming up. Plus, what happens if Joe Biden drops out of the presidential race? We'll walk through the scenarios.
If Joe Biden drops out before the convention, he essentially surrenders all the pledges he gained.
The National breaks down the stories shaping your world next. Chaos in the crowd after yesterday's Copa America semifinal between Uruguay and Colombia in North Carolina. Following their 1-0 loss, about a dozen Uruguay players climbed into the stands, trading punches with Colombia fans. The fight raged on for about 10 minutes until police got things under control. A very different scene at London's O2 Arena, where the Killers paused their concert to catch the end of yesterday's England-Netherlands semifinals at the Euros. Of course, England scored the win, sending the crowd into a frenzy. And the party was just getting started as the band seamlessly shifted back to their set, starting with Mr. Brightside. Medical experts are pushing back against some online influencers who they say are spreading misinformation about the safety of sunscreen. As Tashana Reed shows us, the claims contradict decades of scientific evidence.
To stabilize it and make it
It's a trending topic. Online influencers taking aim at sunscreen.
Sunscreen is a scam, and here's why.
I never wear sunscreen.
These are actually more dangerous than you burning.
Mainstream sunscreens. Making claims to hundreds of thousands of viewers, it does more harm than good.
These sunscreens that are on the market today are mostly toxic, and we know that they can actually cause cancer.
This dermatologist says that couldn't be further from the truth.
Sunscreen is one of the #1 things that helps us prevent cancer. So the thing that causes cancer, particularly skin cancer, is the sun.
There are 2 types of products, mineral and chemical, and both work in different ways to block harmful rays from being absorbed in our skin.
But you look at the whole breadth of the data that's available, and on the whole, it shows that all these chemicals are safe, which is why they're Health Canada approved.
Quebec's Order of Chemists even released a statement saying the misinformation circulating online could endanger public health, adding these influencers generally don't have the scientific expertise to assess chemical safety.
The people who are talking to you, what's their credential? Where did they get this information from?
Is there proof? And now a counter movement, including medical experts, are debunking these myths online.
There is no evidence showing that sunscreen ages you.
Still, at this Toronto beach, sunscreen isn't a priority for everyone.
Don't feel the need for it, especially with the chemicals that are in sunscreens.
Most days I don't put any at all.
Well, what you really want to do is protect yourself against the carcinogen that's coming from the sun's rays.
About 65% of melanoma cases, the deadliest form of skin cancer, are caused by UV radiation, but it is preventable, say experts.
Even one blistering burn as a child or a young adult doubles your risk of melanoma.
To avoid the risks, experts say use a sunscreen of SPF 30 or higher year-round, that adults apply 2 to 3 tablespoons every 2 hours, and to only take medical advice from trusted professionals. Tashana Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world, and tonight the focus is Washington.
I'm just going to keep moving, and because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish.
Joe Biden is fighting against a narrative of frailty.
Look, folks, this is, well, anyway.
Democrats still spooked and divided after a shaky debate.
No one did anything wrong, but it is time for us to move on.
That would be a disgrace to discard and push out an amazing president.
Some are making the case openly.
We have a choice. He is the presumptive nominee, not the nominee.
But it's not their choice.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run.
And tonight, Biden is defying the calls and the clock. Brian Stelter is an author and a special correspondent for Vanity Fair. He joins us now. Brian, let's start with this exchange that the president had with reporters.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
So, Brian, two notable things here. He mistakenly calls Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump, but making it clear he's not stepping down. What do you make of his performance?
That's right. If you were looking for mistakes, gaffes, embarrassing moments, senior moments, then you found them, right? Calling Vice President Kamala Harris Trump is embarrassing. And in the anti-Biden, pro-Trump media, that's going to run on a loop for days. But if you wanted to hear Biden speak substantively about foreign policy, about national affairs, about the campaign against Trump, well, then you also heard that. This was a Rorschach test. This was the kind of press conference where people came away with very different impressions of Biden based on their preconceived notions. I don't think it's going to change a lot of minds. It's going to continue this real state of crisis in the Democratic Party. And here's the proof of that. We've already heard in the last couple of minutes from a couple of Democratic lawmakers who have come out with new statements saying that Biden should step aside. So the idea that this is all going to resolve itself, no, we are far away from that point. However, Biden did not make his own situation any worse by having the press conference. You know what I mean?
All right, well, let's take a listen to this exchange of President Biden rejecting stories regarding that he needs to end his day earlier. Take a listen.
Instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate. I mean, my schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball?
So, Brian, observers say his performance here could make or break his candidacy. He defended his fitness in that clip. Do you think he convinced those concerned about his well-being in this press conference?
Right, and Biden's line there about Trump cheating at golf is a great line. It's a genuinely good joke. It's also a line that Biden's used before in his so-called stump speech when he's out campaigning. A lot of Biden's best points tonight were lines that he's used in the past. But that's okay. The point is that he was able to repeat them in front of tens of millions of viewers. However, there are so many Democratic Party strategists and activists and elected officials and voters who are worried not about Biden today, but about Biden for the next 4 months, whether he can challenge Trump day in, day out, and whether he is fit to be president for 4 more years. I don't think any single press conference is able to resolve those concerns. So in other words, Biden lives to fight another day, right? He's earned a few points. He's going to go into tomorrow. This was not a disaster for him, but nor was it the kind of the solution to a problem, because frankly, the problem is much bigger than any single press conference.
So in your view, is there anything that Joe Biden and his campaign can do at this point to turn things around?
It's not one thing, it's everything. You know, it's showing up many times a day, multiple events, multiple unscripted appearances. Because, you know, one of the takeaways from this press conference is that Biden does have command of the facts. He was trying to be very careful not to make misstatements. He was trying to be very correct and sound and trying to show people all around the world what his accomplishments have been at home and abroad. He has command of the facts, at least on a day like today. But the question about Biden is whether he's having good days and bad days. Is he having too many bad days, not enough good days? The only way to address that is to go out there every single day and put on a vigorous campaign against Donald Trump.
So Brian, in the coming days, what will you be looking out for when it comes to his future?
We're going to see Donald Trump on center stage next week, the Republican National Convention. Trump will become officially the candidate taking on Biden. So the eyes are going to be back on Trump. How does Biden take advantage of this period? What does he do? What does he say? He's going to have a big interview on NBC on Monday. His strategy seems to be to run down the clock and convince his doubters that he can handle this job. But make no mistake, there are more Democratic officials who are going to come forward and call for him to step aside. So he's under tremendous pressure. And what I'll be watching for is how does he handle the pressure from within his own party, the calls from within his own party to step aside? How does he prove to them that he can handle this for 4 more months and 4 more years?
All right, Brian Stelter, thank you for joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks.
So what happens if Biden does step down in the coming days? Is it too late to replace him?
Technically, no, but the path is narrow.
About that breaks down how the Democrats could pick a new candidate in the mere weeks.
If I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet.
Some say Biden is the only option for the Democrats in this election. After all, he won the primaries.
President Biden has won 99% of the delegates.
But if Biden was replaced, how would that even work? Lauren Bird of CBC News explores about that, shows us it is possible. It happened before, but it could be messy.
It seems like every minute, another shoe drops for Joe Biden. Another poll, another leak, another group of Democrats speak out, arguing he should step aside as the party's presidential nominee.
More Democratic lawmakers are abandoning the president.
He may not be the best choice to take on Donald Trump.
It's like talking to a loved one about such a tough situation. How do you tell that person he can't do this anymore?
So far, Biden has insisted he's in it for the long haul, and his staffers say it's too late to replace him anyway. So, is it? Technically, no. But the path is narrow. Let's go through it. In order to parse out these arguments, we need to start with the basics. Right now, Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party. But in order to become the formal nominee, the majority of his party's delegates still need to vote for him. And that happens at the party's convention in August.
Those delegates come from all 50 states, and they will gather together and they will choose who their presidential nominee is.
If you're not super familiar with this process, here's how it works. Every state in the US holds a presidential primary to help choose a candidate to represent their party in the general election. Delegates are the group of people in charge of moving the next part of the process along. These are party loyalists, handpicked to represent their state. And their main job is to go to their political party's convention where the presidential candidate is officially nominated and push forward the person that their state backed in the primaries. In this case, that's Joe Biden.
President Biden has won 99% of the delegates that were divvied up according to the primaries.
At At the convention, delegates literally call out their votes on behalf of the states they represent, one by one in alphabetical order.
Indiana, you have 92 votes.
How do you cast your vote?
43 votes for Senator Bernie Sanders and 48 votes for the next president of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
They do this over and over until somebody gets a majority. But here's the thing. Delegates don't go to a party convention completely free to vote for whoever they want. As we mentioned, their job is to push forward the person their state backed in the primaries. And there's actually a process in which they pledge to do this in advance.
But the Democratic rules formally say the delegates are supposed to vote in good conscience the views of those who sent them along. So while they're not bound, they have this pre-existing commitment.
Which means that most of the time, these party conventions are seen as a formality, a way for the party's staunchest supporters to very publicly rally around their chosen leader. But what happens if Biden's name isn't on that list this year? What happens if he drops out before the convention begins? If Joe Biden drops out before the convention, he essentially surrenders all the pledges he gained through the primary season, and the convention bursts wide open.
An open convention means you go into the convention without anyone having a majority of delegates and without anyone knowing for sure who the nominee will be.
The last time we saw an open convention was in 1968, when sitting President Lyndon Johnson struggled in the primaries and decided he wasn't going to run again. The purpose of the convention then became not to confirm a nominee, but to select one. And in theory, there's no reason why this couldn't happen again.
Let's say Joe Biden withdraws and releases his 3,896 pledged delegates. Then the party has to figure out what to do next. You can't go and redo the primaries. There's no time. The Biden delegates are going to have to decide whom to choose.
Here's how that might work, according to the analysts we spoke to. Say Biden dropped out of the race tomorrow. Most likely, a handful of Democrats would come out of the woodwork and announce they're running for the nomination. The DNC could then invite those people to officially register as a nominee.
You can imagine the hardest part will be, how do you winnow down the number of potential candidates to a manageable number? The party's going to have to decide how to do that.
Once they do, the confirmed candidates would then have just over a month to launch a campaign and make their case to those delegates. Because remember, the moment Biden steps down, all of his delegates become unpledged. They're basically free agents and can support whoever they want. So in this scenario, the delegates would vote one by one, same as always. And if no one wins a majority in the first round, it goes to a second ballot. And that's where the superdelegates come in.
The superdelegates, since they were instituted several decades ago, have mainly been the members of Congress, both houses, the governors of that party, only party members, obviously, and occasionally other officials. There may be several statewide elected officials that are included in the call.
Superdelegates are free to vote for whoever they want. They don't get to vote in the first round because they have an outsized influence, but they do get to vote in every other round. And there's no limit to how many rounds this process can go on for.
It would draw a very broad audience, but at a considerable cost. When people run against one another, their worst instincts come out, and they're going to use every scintilla of negative information they can gather. So it's something both parties have tried to avoid and really have in modern times.
As of right now, Joe Biden still says he's not going anywhere.
If any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
Challenge me at the convention? Well, what exactly does that mean? If Biden stays in the race, how could someone challenge him at the convention when, like we said, all of these delegates have already pledged to vote for him? Well, some states do actually have laws mandating delegates cast their votes according to that pledge. But for most, there's no official penalty if they decide to vote differently. Party rules simply say that delegates shall in all good conscience reflect the sentiment of those who elected them.
For Democrats, the delegates are pledged, but they are not bound.
If somehow enough delegates got together and decided to vote against Biden at the convention and actually stopped him from getting a majority on the first ballot, we'd enter what's known as a brokered convention.
A brokered convention is where nobody can get a majority of delegates on the first round of votes. And that would mean it has to go to a second or subsequent round of votes.
It's called a brokered convention because of what happens next. Say Biden doesn't win a majority on the first ballot. That would kick off a complex series of negotiations led by so-called power brokers from the states. These could be like governors, senators, or big city mayors, anyone with the power to persuade delegates to vote for another candidate that eventually they can all agree on. And if this sounds messy, that's because it is.
And that means that the delegates are brokering, they're exchanging deals, they're trying to barter with each other. Maybe you say, I'll drop out and support you if you agree to give me this kind of position, or if you agree to try to add this to the party platform, or whatever it might be. And we haven't seen this happen in the United States in 70 years.
The longest brokered convention was back in 1924, when Democrats took 17 days and 103 rounds of voting to nominate diplomat John W. Davis. Now, to be clear, although it's not impossible for this to happen, according to the analysts we spoke to, it's very unlikely a challenger will emerge without the support of the party itself.
It's politically very dangerous to challenge the incumbent. If you come at this candidate and try to show this divisive showing on the floor but fail, all you've done is weaken your own candidate by suggesting there's this internal dissension and struggle rather than a showing of solidarity and strength.
Okay, let's throw one more wrench in the works. If Biden stays the course, officially wins the nomination, and then steps down, maybe because of health reasons or the polls suggest he simply can't beat Trump, well, there's a process for that too. But it's arguably the most controversial.
It would probably leave a lot of voters pretty shaken that this person would go all the way through the nomination process only to pull out hours or days afterward.
At this point, according to party rules, the choice lies with a small group of powerful DNC members. They come up with a nominee, and the National Committee votes on it. No primaries, no delegates. Just a few elected and appointed party members deciding whose name is on the ballot.
Probably have a bad taste in the mouth of many to say that a handful of officials and unelected officials in the party get to choose who their party's candidate is going to be rather than leaving it to the political process.
Look, bottom line, no one can really be sure how this would work, or even if it will happen. Joe Biden may remain unchallenged. The only guarantee for Democrats now is that any change to the status quo is going to be messy and complicated. But at least some Democrats say it may be worth the mess.
Before the Democrats meet, Republicans will gather for their national convention. That's next week in Milwaukee. We'll have extensive coverage throughout the week. Next, a WestJet flight to London gets a sprinkle of spice.
We're approaching into Heathrow. She goes up, she goes, "It's time for you and me to do our dance."
How Mel C spices up a flight attendant's life in our moment. Flight attendant Pam Nisbet considers herself a Spice Girls superfan, so you can imagine her excitement when none other than Sporty Spice walked on board her plane. Nisbet says she tried to keep it cool, but couldn't resist a dance request. Tonight, their mid-air moves are our moment.
I got to dance with Mel C and do the Stop Right Now dance, which has been my go-to song on a bad day for almost 15 years. So when she walked down the gateway and I saw her, I burst into tears. I had given myself a pep talk and I was like, Pam, we're going to be professional. We are going to represent this airline in a professional way. And then she walked down the gateway and I burst into tears. So I said, so if you could do the stop dance with me, it would make my whole life complete. And she's like, oh, I'll do that. We're approaching into Heathrow. She goes up, she goes, it's time for you and me to do our dance. The world tells you that you're not supposed to meet your heroes because they'll disappoint. But then this woman gets on and she blew us all away. I can't say enough about her. I never expected her to be that absolutely humble and wonderful. And I could never have asked for a better human being to come on the flight. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I bet. Well, it's Pamela's 60th birthday coming up, and this moment was a pleasant surprise for her birthday week. Now, the Spice Girls left a lasting legacy on pop culture and music, inspiring future generations of artists and continuing to be celebrated for their energetic performances and catchy music. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Juanita Taylor. Take care.